What is up, Collective? Welcome back to the Collective Culture Podcast. I am Nina, your host as always. And we have a guest on today. I want to get right into this because I'm very excited to have her on. She is a fellow tarot reader and intuitive, and I've been subscribed to her channel for many, many years, and I'm a huge fan of her, and she's just one of the realists out there that I have found. And she agreed to be on. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce her. Her YouTube, her business is the Walu Child Readings, and her name is Chenoa. So hello, Chenoa. Thank you for being on.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited about this. I let her know offline that I've been a fan of hers for a while, and I'm not generally a fan of a lot of anything online. I'm very social media hesitant. So it takes me a long time to trust people, and I believe she's also the same way. So, um, yeah. So we're gonna get right into this. We're gonna talk about kind of her journey through the spiritual community and how she got started, and then towards the end, we're gonna let you guys know where you can find her and connect with her if you need readings or coaching. She offers a lot of things. Um, so Janelle, one of the first things I kind of wanted to ask you was what like event or experience or desire maybe that took place for you to put you on this path of being a spiritual guide and being into esoteric and wanting more esoteric knowledge.
Well, kind of, where do I start? Because it's a long, I feel like it's kind of a build up. I don't know if we all experience it, but it's like a build up that happens. So, around my spiritual awakening, as I guess you would call it, that I was aware of, I had went through a breakup at that time. And I've always had like an interest in esoteric things, tarot cards and stuff like that. Growing up Christian, that was not something that, we accepted or even played with. So
Mm-hmm.
my whole kind of interest in those things, I feel like I really didn't allow myself to be open to that until I went through that whole process of, going through my spiritual awakening and kind of a painful process, the growing pains of everything. My first encounter with readings was probably in high school, actually, when I was asking about a boyfriend. And I used those little text message apps to text a so called psychic. So that was my first experience. Um, but when I actually started to read, it was only because I wanted to read for myself. I started off in interest in angel card readings. I think that's really where it kind of opened the door for that, the Dorian Virtue era. So my first deck
Mm-hmm.
was a Dorian Virtue Oracle card, tarot Oracle card, matter of fact. And I was just doing readings for myself, and I was like, let me like ask anybody that's willing, I guess, in my family that would be open to it. So those that were, I did readings for them, and they were like, you should read, and I was like repelling it because I that's not my thing. Like I wasn't looking for that, and at the time, I think this was around like 2012 to 2014. Because my channel's been around for a minute. I don't remember the genesis of it when I actually started my channel, but at the time I was repelling the channel. So I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
really, I didn't really want to do it. So I kept running from that, and I was called to actually go on YouTube. At that time, if you scroll past that time, that era, there was not that many tarot readers out there. Um,
No, there isn't.
it was a few angel card readers. I noticed that like that was a big thing back then.
Mm-hmm.
So when I initially started my channel, I tried to do the whole zodiac read thing. That didn't really, go anywhere, and it wasn't something I was truly passionate about. I think I was trying to fit what everybody else was doing.
Right.
So I was actually led to do twin flame readings, which were not popular at all. Like couldn't really find anyone reading on the twin flame stuff. So at that time, it was kind of just, oh, okay, I'll just do it. And that's how my business started. And I was not looking to start a business from reading, but
Right.
yeah.
Wow, we have very similar stories as to why we started. And I think I shared this with you offline about how I started this whole journey because of a breakup too.
Hmm.
And my father had passed away and I needed answers. And like
Yeah.
you said, it was for me. It wasn't for the collective. That came way later on.
Yeah.
And it's funny how, love is so prominent in the tarot community. That's everybody wants love readings, and
Hmm.
it's crazy that's how most of us start
Yeah.
reading. So, love's a powerful thing. So that's so
Yeah.
cool. It's so cool to know that other people were going through the same thing almost around the same time too. I bought my
2012. Yeah.
I bought my first deck in 2013
Yeah. Yeah.
and didn't start a channel till 2020. So I pushed it away a lot longer than you did. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
cool to know you're not alone.
Right. I feel like it's more a heart chakra awakening. Like if you think of it, the breakups, lead to the heart, needing healing. And it's
Right.
funny that you said like the breakups and things like that because at that time I just started getting into crystals as well. My younger brother was more into esoteric things before I was really tapping into it. So he took me to a crystal shop and I was like, "How do I pick one?" He was like, "Just pick whatever stands out to you." And my first ever crystal was a rose quartz. So
Wow. There you go. Rose quartz, if you don't know, is all about love
yeah,
and
self
the heart.
love and healing. Yes.
Hmm. Wow. See, crystals came for me way later on. I haven't really, I just started probably over
Mm.
the last year or so, been getting more into energy work,
Yeah.
even though I realize now that's what I've been doing this whole time.
Hmm.
Crystals definitely play a part in that too.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I guarantee the breakup was probably very significant too. It wasn't just a regular breakup, if I'm correct
It
with you.
yeah, it took some time to make the decision to finally let it go, but I just felt this empowerment because I never thought that I would be able to leave that situation. So it was a self-love journey most definitely first before anything
Yes.
and finding my identity outside of that relationship because I was so young at that time. So, yeah.
Hmm. It's powerful though. It is powerful. And then it brings, I think you start, finding your tribe through that
Yeah.
too. I mean, of course, some people break off and go away because they're only supposed to be there for a certain amount of time. But, with you, I even told you this offline again, like, I felt, and I know everybody says this, but I felt like every one of her readings were for me. Like they always resonated with me. And I'm like, how does she know? And little do you know this, you probably don't remember. Probably 2015, 2014, I got a reading from you. It was a monthly reading where you
Oh
recorded
wow.
and sent it to me. And it was about the guy that I broke up with that led me to tarot.
Mm,
And I basically asked what everybody asked, are we meant to be, that. And the way that you kind of put it was like, you are right now, but you're going to see later on what this was for. And
mm,
you were
wow.
absolutely on point. And she's just so good at it, guys. Like people in my life say I'm really good at it. Like you were one of the first people I subscribed to when I started watching tarot readings. And you have the gift. You absolutely do.
Thank you.
Um, and
Wow.
it's not even just about the cards, like
Yeah.
you just get it, and you're real. That was what really stuck out to me with you is that you were real. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, that's what I preach on is being real, being realistic. And, I don't want to have anybody on that doesn't subscribe to that and isn't authentic. So,
Right.
you kind of answered my second question too, because I was going to ask you what made you decide to create a YouTube channel. So, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, I did want to kind of pick your brain a little bit about the spiritual community,
Hmm.
because it's it's grown, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
um, and obviously in 2020 when I started, there was a lot of tarot readers at that point, and even more viewers though because of the pandemic and all that.
Hmm.
But what would you say if anybody's thinking about starting this? Because I know there is. I know there are people like us who are hesitant, fearful of judgment, and
Hmm.
what would your like do's and don'ts be as far as that goes?
Um, I would say to those that genuinely have a desire to go on YouTube for the right reasons, not to get attention and fame and all of that, and to exploit people, but genuinely go, whatever it is that you're called to. It doesn't even have to be spiritual or tarot or anything like that. It could be, social justice and things like that. So, um, I would say if you feel pulled and called, it's something that you desire to do, but your fear won't allow you, overcome that fear, because it's obviously something that you are divinely led to do. And as far as backlash or people, haters or trolls and things like that, that comes with the territory, period. So I
Being
would just
online in
say,
general.
right, not to let that overshadow what you're doing, because you'll get more love than you get the trolls. And just privacy is a big thing as well. Like, be very discerning of who you interact with on social media, YouTube, things like that. But if it's your passion, it's your calling, but that fear is in the way, override that fear. Just do it, because I just did it, and do what
Yeah.
works for you. Don't allow, oh, I don't have the right cameras, I don't have this, I don't, that. That will come within time. And those that are meant to see what you have going on, they will gravitate towards you.
hmm Yeah, and be authentic.
Yeah.
Because
And
I mean, you never know who you're going
analytics.
to help. I mean,
Right.
you were definitely a catalyst for me, really moving more into it for myself.
Really.
Because I also come from a Christian background. Most of my
Mm.
family is very religious,
Yeah.
and I knew the minute they got wave of me starting this, there was going to be
Mm-hmm.
comments,
Mm-hmm.
and I was right. And I think I shared this on another episode, but one of my family members reached out to me and expressed their opinion about
Mm-hmm.
tarot and astrology, and said, one thing she said to me was, the devil's in the tarot. And I quickly responded and I said, it's also in the Bible. He's also in the Bible.
Yes. Okay, well, we
You
need to
know?
talk about that for a second.
Yes.
Tarot and religion. The origins of tarot go way deeper, and it wasn't really a divination tool to begin with anyway. I believe it was a card game. Um, if I'm not mistaken, Judaism at that time, they had to convert to Catholic back. I think it was, yeah, Catholic religion. In order to survive, they had to cloak their religious beliefs, and they put it in a card game. So the first major arcana is the Fool Through the World. They
hmm
have the Hebrew alphabet throughout each card. So the origins of tarot is not demonic within itself. Just like the Bible, a preacher or whoever can use the Bible to exploit people. You know what I mean?
Right.
And tell fortunes. Me with the tarot, this is my thing. Like when people say, oh, it's demonic, I don't use the tarot to tell people's fortunes, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's not something I would say, like, you can predict the future, but I don't see predict the future. You know what I
Right.
mean? So,
Because people
yeah.
have free will and the
Right.
energies change all the time. And that's what a lot of people, I think, that's a misconception, is that they
Right.
think that it's, we're doing witchcraft or something, which there
Mm-hmm.
are, there are
You
but then
can, yeah.
yeah, you can do evil things if that's your intention. And
Right.
one thing that I stress to my family, because they're so concerned, is that I'm helping people. There's
Right.
nothing negative about this. So, you know, if I was
Right.
ruining people's lives, that's a whole other thing.
And it's very cautious. You do have to be careful because it is a spiritual tool. Any spiritual tool, I feel like, has the power to have some type of influence, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. It's really about intentions. It's also things, I don't feel like everybody should read tarot. That's my opinion.
I
It's not
agree.
something that I feel like everyone should open the doorways to, especially if you're not called to touch certain things. It's like
Hmm.
playing with Ouija boards and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
that's not something everybody should be tapping into. You know what I mean? Um, but with the tarot within itself, like I said, it's just a tool, and we don't want it to become our God. I feel like that's the warning of everything. You don't want, okay, your desire to know your future to become this idol, and it can be. And I feel like that's the only downside, or at least one of the
Hmm.
downsides to tarot.
Yeah, me too. I have found that also. Um, just with reading for other people, they get
Hmm.
very obsessed with
Yeah.
wanting to know. And I did too at first.
Yeah. Shoot, I can raise my hand on that too. Yeah.
You every time something happens, you're like, "Ooh, let me get the cards."
Ooh, let me. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have to respect it too, just like you have to respect the Bible and you have to respect religion. I
Hmm.
mean, it's the same thing. I always bring up the Spider-Man reference. With great power comes great responsibility.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you have a lot of people out there who are not mentally sound to hear the
Hmm.
message. So they take it
Right.
and run with it.
Ooh,
And
yeah. Mm. Mental health and spirituality, that goes hand in hand. It, like I said, I love the fact that now, a lot of people are more into their mental health and self-care and things like that, and doing inner child healing and stuff like that.
right, yeah.
Then there's a downside, where there's schizophrenia and there's paranoia
Mhm.
and stuff like that, where people get into spirituality and they kind of lose their minds. That's,
Mhm.
that's why I say, like, you gotta be called to certain things. Can't just tap into every single thing, be like, oh, I can do this, and I no. Mm-mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And you gotta do what you're called to. Some people
Hmm.
have, they're clairsentient, they're clairaudient. Like they have things that are that are stronger present for
Yeah.
them. And then sometimes when you open that door, I've told many people this when they want to start reading. Be
Hmm.
very sure that you want to open that door because
Hmm.
other things start coming in that you are
Right.
not going to be ready for. So,
Discernment is everything. That's why I pray
yeah,
over my readings and my cards, because when I go into that room or that space, you can be receptive to all types of things in the spirit realm. So you want to be discerning, like, okay, where am I getting my source of information and my guidance from? You know
right.
what I mean?
Right. And I need to do better at that. I haven't recorded a video in a very long time, but I say it to myself. I don't say it out loud a lot of times.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um and I don't know if that's the wrong or right way. I mean, it's just,
No, it's all in your intention. It really is.
right. And and I don't have airy fairy rainbows and sunshine readings all the time either. I've
Hmm.
gotten hit and runs. I've gotten,
Yeah.
bad things in for the collective readings as well. And I don't hold back,
Hmm.
because when I press record, I have a responsibility to the collective to get exactly what I'm getting word for word. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's not good. It's not positive.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but that's life as a human.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and I just want to talk about this real quick. So,
Go ahead.
like what you said, sometimes you get messages that are not light and fluffy all the time, and I feel like we've gotten so spoiled in the spiritual
Mhm.
community that we look to hear the so-called good things, only what we want to hear. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's dangerous because we have this false sense of entitlement to, and spirituality is two-way. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a two-way street, but it is a shadow and it is a light spectrum.
Mhm.
So, there's messages where we might need warnings and heads up. Why would you shun that away because it's not what you want to hear? Like, that's kind of foolish to me. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean, to be coddled. And there's so many adults that, I gotta be careful what I say, but that prefer, and that's why I was guided to turn away from doing twin flame readings, because that journey within the self, I don't take away from it. I do believe that it was needed for a lot of people, but
Mm-hmm.
it became an obsession. It became a cult, kind of a religion if you think about it.
Oh my God.
um and it's not healthy. And even with love readings, because sometimes I've like, oh my god, I get upset sometimes with spirit because I feel like that's the only messages that I'm delivering most of the time, but I understand that some people may need to hear what's said,
Yes.
and I have to respect the fact that my readings are not always going to be light and fluffy love readings either, because people need healing, right? So
Right.
yeah.
I'm going through it too, but I think it's just because it's a collective energy. That's what everybody
Hmm.
wants to know. You know,
Yeah.
it's powerful in that
Yeah.
way. Because I do it too. I'll get on there and I'll be like, nope, I'm just going to do a general. That's it. I'll do it. And then Spirit's like, nope, no, you're not. So, and you see the cards come out. It's like the Ace of Cups, the Knight of Cups, the Lovers, and you're like, how do you pivot this somewhere else? Like you just
Right.
can't, you just can't. Because not only are you getting the message, but the people are seeing it too, and it's like, but it's all in love. I mean, that's where I come from because I
Yeah.
I was that viewer for a
Hmm.
very long time, and I was the person seeking for answers and guidance.
Yeah.
And then when I started being the answers and guidance, I took it very serious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to.
Hmm.
You have to. And I worry. I don't want to give anyone false hope, even with
Yeah.
my friends. Like, even when I
Hmm.
read for them, I don't want to give them false hope. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be real. Even if you get upset and it's something you don't want to hear, it is what it is, you
Yeah.
know?
It's gonna make sense later. I've been triggered by readings that I've gotten and stuff, but it's all healing. And of course, I'm not saying that every time you hear a message that you don't want to hear, it means that it's the truth. Like sometimes you got to be discerning, because we're humans at the end of the day. So when we're delivering messages, we might slip up and like insert some of our personal opinions and thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's why it's important to clear your energy before you read and pray, or however you set
Hmm.
your intentions. But yeah, it's very touchy, and you have to be careful of what you say and how you say it, because you don't want anyone to misinterpret it. But at the end of the day, we're all adults, so you take the information and do with it what you will. Hopefully, something positive from it.
And especially with collective readings, because
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know how many people are going to watch that.
Hmm.
Even if you don't have a big following, the algorithm on YouTube is just all over the place. So, you know what I mean? Even if somebody just were to watch me for the first 10 minutes, like
Hmm.
that's I'm getting their energy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then I also feel too like with me and you, like with when I connected to you, I don't connect to all the readers that way.
Yeah.
And I don't get angry about it like I see some people do. I just move on, and that's for somebody else, and I let it go. And I just wish others, even if you're not a tarot reader, you don't want to be a tarot reader, that you would have that respect and not go in the comments and start, this isn't my reading,
Hmm.
like it's frustrating for me to see it because now that I'm doing it, I know what it takes to cut your
Hmm.
energy off, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. And we can't take it personally, because
No.
that person, whatever they're going through, it might have triggered something they needed to know at the time, and if they reject it, that's up to them. But yeah, it's not an easy um, position to be in, to be a tarot reader. That's
No.
why I don't think it's something cute. I think people market it as something cute and like, oh, look what I could, like, nah, sis,
It's
no.
become very trendy. I mean,
Hmm.
when I went